This video is a part 2 of an earlier video I made. I recommend you go watch that one first to fully understand what's going on in part 2. The link is in the description, so go watch part 1 and then come back here. So the question still remains, what if Masamune stayed in America instead of going to Japan? In part 1, we found out that this little decision changes so much in the show's story. Picking up right where we left off, Team Wildfang has advanced to the A Block Finals over Team Gangan Galaxy. The loss of Masamune to Team Starbreaker was just too much for Team Japan to overcome, and now they're knocked out of the World Championships. So now we have a very interesting matchup for the A Block Finals with Team Wildfang versus Team Excalibur. This is a matchup I always wanted to see growing up, so I'm excited that this is where the hypothetical question has taken us. But first, we need to talk a bit about Team Wildfang. Obviously, they have Kyoya. He's the strongest blader in the tournament, tied with Jinga, of course. And they also have a great second option being Nile. But after that, there's a pretty significant drop-off. You have Benkei and Demore. They're good characters, but compared to other bladers in the World Championships, they're just a little weak. Both of them wouldn't be able to make it onto any other team besides Team Lavushka, and it seems like Team Wildfang knows this because their strategy for every matchup is to send out Nile first, get a victory, and then have Kyoya come in second to clean things up. Wildfang have to win the first two battles of every matchup because the truth is Benkei or Demore would probably lose if it came to that. So it's a 2-0 sweep or nothing for Team Wildfang, and other teams don't have to battle like this because they have at least 3 bladers who are strong enough to the point where you can trust them to win a World Championship match. I just don't have enough confidence in Benkei to send him out first or second in a World Championship matchup because odds are he's losing. And I like Benkei, it's just World Championship bladers are on another level. So this means for Team Wildfang, if Nile or Kyoya lose one of the first 2 battles, it's over, especially against a team like Excalibur. I mean, if they're tied 1-1 and Kyoya and Nile have already battled, who do we send out against Wales or Sophie? Well, it'd have to be Benkei or Demore, and that's just a loss for Team Wildfang. So the first battle of this matchup, being Nile's, oddly enough decides the entire series. Because we know Kyoya isn't losing in the second match, so either Nile wins and they secure the 2-0 sweep, or he loses, and then Kyoya ties it up at 1-1, and then the third match, Benkei or Demore would go on to lose. So Nile's battle literally decides everything here, and his matchup is against Klaus. And I think Nile versus Klaus is one of the best battles we never got to see, so I'm pretty excited for this one. Now, of course, they've never battled each other before, but they have both battled Masamune. And because we don't really have much else to go off of, we're really going to have to closely compare their battles against him. So first and foremost, they both won against Masamune, but if we look a little further, we find something that might be able to give us our answer between Nile and Klaus. Starting with Klaus, he and Masamune had an all-timer. I mean, this was an insane battle. This is peak Beyblade. You got 2 bladers meeting in the middle of the stadium and going all out, no holding back. There was a lot of twists and different special moves, and it just made for a great battle. Klaus wins in the end, but that only happens after he goes full force, literally surpassing the limits of a human being. And even then, he barely scrapes by Masamune, and I mean barely. He even passes out after the battle. Masamune just lost and he didn't even pass out, so this is not a great look for Klaus. And on top of that, Nile beat Masamune without too much trouble. He even says to Masamune after the battle, like, I told you I would win. So overall, this victory seemed like no big deal to Nile. And if we compare this to Klaus literally passing out after defeating Masamune, well, it seems like a no-brainer. In the first matchup of Team Wildfang versus Team Excalibur, Nile defeats Klaus in a hardly fought battle. Score 1-0 Wildfang. Now, we all know what this means. Kyoya's coming in hot for the 2-0 sweep in the second match, and Kyoya stepping out would prompt Julian Konzern to battle next. A little earlier than you would have hoped. He prefers to battle in the third match, but if Kyoya wins here, there will be no third match. So now Julian versus Kyoya is upon us. It would be a great battle, an entertaining battle, but I have no doubt that Kyoya would pull through. Kyoya and Jinga tied, as we know, and Jinga originally defeated Julian, so I think Kyoya pulls through here, and Wildfang get the 2-0 sweep and win the A Block Finals. So let's back up a little bit. This all started with Masamune deciding to stay in America, and because of that small decision, Wildfang take Gangan Galaxy's spot as the champion of the A Block. Moving on, they also take care of Team Garcia as they pave their way to the World Championship Finals. I don't feel like I need to break down the matchup with Team Garcia, whether they do a traditional battle or the weirdly formatted battle they did with Team Gangan Galaxy. Wildfang would still take care of business here. And nothing changes on the B block of the tournament. Starbreaker still completely annihilate Team Excalibur just like they did in the original timeline. So now we have a finals matchup of Team Wildfang versus Team Starbreaker. In the original timeline, Masamune was in the finals for Japan, but as we discussed in part 1, he's now competing for Team Starbreaker. But let's talk about the original timeline for a little bit. The finals in the original timeline were anything but normal. Obviously, Masamune tries to see Toby and Zio again now that Gang Gang Galaxy is in America, and there's that whole subplot where Zio hates Masamune, but that doesn't happen in the hypothetical because Masamune never left. But there's still another complicated subplot that has to be implemented into this hypothetical scenario, and that has to do with Ryuga. We all remember how he got tangled up with Dr. Ziggurat and Hades Inc., and when Team Gang Gang Galaxy were going to train in the United States, Zio hunted Ryuga down and confronted him. Jinga and Masamune were also there, but in this hypothetical, that obviously can't be the case. So at this point, there are two ways that the finals can go. One, it's a normal battle between Wildfang and Starbreaker, or two, Ryuga gets involved like he did originally. We know that Ryuga battled Jack in the finals, but this was only made possible by Yu in Tsubasa's absence. They were training and got injured by Damien while Jinga and Masamune were confronting Zio and Ryuga. And it really changed the entire matchup. So again, we can either keep things simple with a normal Wildfang versus Starbreaker, or have Ryuga get involved like he did originally. But whichever option we choose, it's gonna have to wait for part 3. We have the final battle and the Spiral Force left to discuss, but if I start that now, this video could be 3 times as long as it already is. So I'm going to call it here. Let me know in the comments if you want Ryuga in part 3 or if you just want a normal matchup between the two teams. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.